My dead mother called me at midnight. What she warned me about was real. At exactly 12:23 a.m., my phone rang. The caller ID showed my mother's name. She had been dead for 11 years. I returned to my childhood home to sell it, but instead uncovered a truth buried beneath the basement. A truth my mother died trying to protect. This is a psychological thriller inspired by real-life crime cases, filled with mystery, hidden secrets, and a chilling final reveal. Watch until the end. Some truths refuse to stay buried. At exactly 12:23 a.m., my phone rang. The caller ID showed my mother's name. My mother had been dead for 11 years. When I answered, she whispered, "Don't open the basement door." I sat frozen on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen as the call ended by itself. No missed call, no history, just my reflection shaking in the black glass. My mother had died in a house fire when I was 17. Closed casket. No goodbye. And yet I knew that voice. I'd heard it every night in my dreams. 10 minutes later, another notification appeared. Unknown. You never listened to her. That was the moment I understood something had followed me back. I had returned to Hollow Creek 3 days earlier to sell my childhood home. The place had been empty since my father disappeared shortly after my mother's death. Police said he ran. The town said nothing. Hollow Creek was good at silence. The house felt wrong from the moment I stepped inside. Too quiet. No echoes, like it was holding its breath. The basement door was locked, just like it had been the night of the fire. I remembered my mother screaming at me not to go down there. I remembered my father dragging me outside while smoke swallowed the house. That night I dreamed of the basement. I was standing at the top of the stairs. The door slowly opened by itself. From the darkness below, something whispered my name again and again until I woke up choking. At 12:23 a.m., my phone rang. Same call, same name. "Mom," I whispered. "You came back," she said softly. "That was your first mistake." I asked her where she was. I asked her how this was possible. She didn't answer. Instead, she said one sentence that made my blood turn cold. "He's still down there." The call cut off. The next morning I searched the house. Every drawer, every wall. In my father's old office, I found a hidden panel behind a bookshelf. Inside was a small metal box, tapes, documents, and a key labeled only one word: basement. My hands shook as memories forced their way back. Screaming, smoke, my father yelling that everything would be fine. That night had never made sense. The fire report said it started in the kitchen, but the kitchen had barely burned. At 12:23 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown. He hears you walking. I stood in front of the basement door for a long time. The lock looked newer than the rest of the house. That alone told me the truth had never left. I unlocked it. The smell hit first, damp earth and rust. The stairs creaked as I descended, each step feeling like a countdown. At the bottom, the flashlight beam revealed something I wasn't prepared for. A reinforced room. Chains bolted to the wall. A mattress. Old food cans. Scratches carved into the concrete. And a camera. It was still on. The screen flickered to life, showing live footage of the basement. Showing me. Then I heard breathing behind me. "Close the door," my father said calmly. I turned slowly. He looked older, thinner, but very much alive. "You weren't supposed to know," he continued. "Your mother tried to stop me." The truth poured out in pieces. My father had been kidnapping people for years. Drifters, runaways, anyone no one would look for. He filmed them, studied fear. When my mother found out, she threatened to go to the police, so he locked her in the basement. The fire wasn't an accident. It was a distraction. "She died screaming," he said without emotion. "Just like the others." My phone vibrated in my pocket. "Mom, now you see." Sirens exploded outside. Red and blue lights flooded through the basement windows. My father looked confused for the first time. "Everything." My mother's voice echoed from my phone. "The recordings, the cameras, your confession." Police stormed the house. They dragged my father away as he screamed my name. The basement door was sealed again. This time, for good. Weeks later, the house was demolished. The town of Hollow Creek appeared on every news channel in America. Bodies were found. Names were returned to the missing. My phone has never stopped ringing. Every night at 12:23 a.m. It always shows the same name, Mom, and every time I answer she whispers the same words. You finally listened. My dead mother called me at midnight. What she warned me about was real. At exactly 12:23 a.m., my phone rang. The caller ID showed my mother's name. She had been dead for 11 years. I returned to my childhood home to sell it, but instead uncovered a truth buried beneath the basement. A truth my mother died trying to protect. This is a psychological thriller inspired by real-life crime cases, filled with mystery, hidden secrets, and a chilling final reveal. Watch until the end. Some truths refuse to stay buried. The call didn't stop after my father was arrested. At 12:23 a.m., every night, my phone still rang, and this time, my mother wasn't warning me. She was asking me to finish what she started. The house was gone, but the basement never left me. They demolished everything above ground. Walls, roof, memories, but the nightmares stayed exactly where they were. Every interview, every article, every headline called me the survivor. No one asked what it meant to survive a truth that keeps calling your name. The first night after the trial ended, my phone rang again. 12:23 a.m., Mom, I answered. You heard him confess, she said, but you didn't hear everything. My chest tightened. It's over, I whispered. He's gone. A pause. Then her voice, colder than before. He wasn't alone. The next morning, a package arrived at my temporary apartment. No address. Inside was a hard drive and a note written in my mother's handwriting. Basement cameras weren't the only ones. I waited until night. The hard drive contained dozens of files, hidden recordings, bank transfers, names, faces, people I recognized from Hollow Creek, council members, police officers, business owners, people who smiled during press conferences and cried on camera. My father hadn't built the basement alone. He was just the one willing to get his hands dirty. At 12:23 a.m., my phone rang again. They'll come for you, my mother said. They always clean up witnesses. That night, I noticed the car outside my building. Engine off, headlights dark, same position for hours. I packed only what I needed. I went somewhere no one would look, back to Hollow Creek. The town felt different now. Empty, afraid, houses for sale, curtains closed, but fear doesn't disappear when the truth comes out. It changes shape. I broke into what used to be the town records office. The basement there smelled familiar, concrete and mold. I followed the wiring, just like my father once taught me. Behind a false wall, I found another room, another camera, another set of chains, and a chair facing the wall. You came, a voice said behind me. I turned. The mayor. He looked tired, old, human. That almost made it worse. We tried to stop him at first, he said quietly. Then it became easier not to. My phone vibrated in my hand. Mom, record everything. I did. The mayor talked. About deals, about silence, about how many people Hollow Creek had fed into the dark to stay alive. When he finished, he sat down in the chair. You don't understand, he said. This town needed monsters. No, I replied. It needed witnesses. Sirens filled the night again, this time called by me. By morning, Hollow Creek was finished. Arrests followed. Confessions. Graves opened one by one. Every secret my mother died protecting finally had a voice. But she didn't leave. On the last night before I moved away for good, my phone rang one final time. 12:23 a.m. Mom. Thank you, she said softly. Now listen carefully. What? I asked. Silence. Then breathing. Not hers. A new voice whispered into the phone. You think she was the only one who died down there? The line went dead. My phone screen cracked. To this day, it still rings, but now it never shows a name, only a time. 12:23, and a reminder carved into my memory forever. Some houses burn, some basements stay hungry, and some truths don't stop calling, because someone, somewhere, is still listening.